back.
Hey.
Another episode of 1K Convos. I'm here with my guy Ivan from Connexional.
Hi everyone.
How's my accent?
It's good. You said it well. I'm impressed.
Yes, sir. So, you've been busy, man. I've been keeping up. I love the work you guys are doing.
Mm-hmm.
Pandemic has been
challenging,
right?
Yeah.
How's it affected your work, and how has it, kind of shaped the way you guys are doing business now?
Yeah. Before the pandemic, if people don't know about us, we're mainly doing events, bring people together in person, events, workshops, different community initiatives. So it was a lot of in-person interaction, with the way we're running things, it's important for us, for people to gather and be together, be in the same space. So obviously the pandemic just kind of put like a huge hold on that. Luckily, though, actually, before the pandemic, we're able to give people feel of what Connexional was. We had our Afro Latin festival. That was in February, and then end of February, March hit, boom, everything shut down.
Mm-hmm.
That was, huge challenge. We couldn't really hold events anymore. And so we've been slowly trying to pivot into being more of a digital first company. How do we keep doing the work that we're doing by building resources online that are helping our people stay connected, but that also empower people to inspire themselves to get out there and also do shit. So
you guys were doing events, hosting events, workshops and stuff like that, and then pandemic happened.
Yeah,
you guys had to start going kind of digital.
Yeah,
right?
We had to start going digital. It was, again, super tough. We don't have an office. We're still a very small startup, still trying to figure a lot of things out. So, going digital meant a lot of the ways we were generating revenues to be able to keep doing what we were doing, which most of them was breaking even. We weren't doing that because there wasn't that in-person experience.
Mm-hmm.
So we tried a lot of different things. We hosted a summit, which was great. That was a free event. And we tried different things. Before the pandemic happened, we were already thinking about building an app. So we kind of focused on that for a bit, which we built an MVP, didn't really work out. We're still working on that project because we believe in what the app can bring to the community in the long run. And one thing that I ended up doing outside of Connexional was basically co-founding the Black Hole Market, which even during the pandemic, we're able to host it because, a market is not a party, and Connexional events means dance. You can pull up to Connexional event and you're not dancing. So that in the context of the pandemic was not necessarily accepted, or wouldn't be a smart thing to do. But with things like the market, for example, people could keep a distance. We could basically segment hours and whatnot. So that's one pivot that I did as CEO outside of Connexional, and Connexional was actually pivotal in helping the Black Hole Market take off, because we essentially were using Connexional resources easily for the first year of the market. And so using those resources that we already had, our networks, the people that were willing to come and volunteer to take this out, I was able to co-found the market with the partner. And then from there, the market became a focus for me. Connexional was still a focus, but it was more about now building digitally, and we did focus on things like merch. We made a few releases. Our latest release was the Cocoa Butter hoodie. I gotta get you one. It was limited, but I'll figure it out. And people really love that. So we really focus more on how do we create digital experiences through merch, through fashion, because fashion is something we are very, very, I love fashion. I love being able to wear things that speak to my soul and to the way that to where I was born, or to the way to my heritage. So we did a few fashion releases, the Cocoa Butter, and then we had a summer collection that we released during the summer. I rode a horse this summer, which was super cool. So we stayed consistent. The pandemic happened, and because I think not only the passion of the team, we wanted to keep doing things, because it's important to learn how to pivot and to just keep figuring out ways to scale. And today, right now, we are looking at different options.
Absolutely. I think pivoting in business is probably one of the most important things you can do. It's such a hard thing to like let go of what you've been doing. It's difficult. It's difficult, man.
Yeah.
it's hard, especially if like especially if you're really niche.
Yeah.
If you're super niche and it's like this niche isn't working anymore.
Mm-hmm.
How do you transition? How do you say, okay, we got to move into this direction? How do you do that? Where do you even start? And it's like if you keep going and you see this isn't working anymore.
Yeah.
Then you're just going down, right?
Yeah.
There's no middle in business. You're either scaling or you're tanking.
Yeah.
Right? So to pivot is difficult, man. I think we've pivoted a couple times here to Gifted Gab. How did juggling the two businesses, how was that for you? Because I know most people think it's really hard to work on multiple projects.
Yeah, it's honestly, where do I start? Okay, I think even going back to say what you said about pivoting already, it's even as me as the leader of the team, as the CEO, I'm a very stubborn person in general. When I have an idea and when I set my mind to something, I'm like, this has to work. But it was kind of like doing things until I'm like, yeah, this is not working. And that niche that you mentioned, like, the summit that we did, it was probably one of the most like cleaned up and well done event that we've ever basically hosted. But it was one of the least attended because that wasn't our niche necessarily. Or people that we've been catering to our niche wasn't aware of the pivot. So it's like you're pivoting, but your niche also has to like be aware that you're pivoting to a certain extent. And even if they aren't aware, now you do have to like, where do I find out the niche that is gonna basically help me not only pivot here, but now the niche that was already there, hopefully also follow the new pivot. So I just wanted to comment on that because that was something that was really hard. And multiple projects, I unfortunately learned the hard way that for someone like me that's still building equity in different ways, I'm still dealing with like student debts and all these different things. I have my 9 to 5. So, imagine like doing like Connexional, which is already taking me like, I don't know, 20 to 30 hours a week, and then adding another project on top of that, which was the black on market, where we were like going like every 2-3 months we're releasing something. And so now I'm managing a Connexional team, I'm managing a black on market team, and then in my own job I'm also managing the team. So it's like it's impossible. I wouldn't recommend that to anyone. I think again I'm stubborn. I love building things. I love being able to like put my mind to something and just create it. So yeah, it's really hard, and I think it's important at that point also to have a team that can support you for both of those things. And I think like as a leader, I'm still also figuring out how to, basically be a leader and actually like delegate and do all those different things. So it's been a journey to say the least this year. Yeah.
It's definitely a journey. It's a long game, right?
Yeah.
It's just never it's not linear.
Yeah.
People think it's linear, and you gotta fail a couple times. You gotta make yourself look silly a couple times. It's really a different kind of process that I feel sometimes we want it to happen right away, and it just never really works like that unless you failed 30 times and then you do it the 31st time and then it's like, oh, now it's clicking. Now it's clicking. And you've stepped away from the black one market now, right?
Yeah. So the like amazing team. That's the brand that has been created. I think that brand on its own is going to keep impacting so many black-owned businesses in Edmonton. And it's just kind of like, and that's the thing. You mentioned something about letting go. that's a hard thing to do when you've built something, but at the same time, it's like when
it's time, it's time.
When it's time, it's time. If you're aware of what you need to hopefully keep going, you gotta like get the opportunity to even other people to come in and actually basically take that wherever it needs to be taken, right? So
So you've been a part of several different businesses now.
Oof.
What have you learned in your dealings in these businesses? What is this world of enterprise taught you? What do you take away from it?
Do I have one thing only? I think for me the biggest thing this year was definitely like you literally cannot take care of other people, whether it's like a business or whether it's a social enterprise, if you're not properly taking care of yourself.
100%.
If you're not in the space where especially when you're passionate about something, if you're not in the space where you figure out how to take care of yourself, how to optimize your body, your mind, your soul, if you are stretching yourself thin, which I've literally always done this last 4 or 5 years, you're almost not going anywhere. That being said, the reverse of that is that I think for me, like I guess like my journey of like moving here from Cameroon and basically having the journey that I've had in terms of like always almost having to put myself in an uncomfortable situation to learn. That hustle stage that I experienced was so needed for me to be able to get here because didn't have the mentors, and even if I had those mentors, I don't think I would have listened to them. So like I think I needed that stage to be able to get here. And so I think that's one of the biggest things. Like you have to take care of yourself. You have to be functioning at your most optimal level so that like even when you're dealing with your team and when you're dealing with other people, it comes from a place of I'm sharp, my mind is sharp. That's one. Two, focus. You have to especially as a small business, a small startup, you have to figure out or like do your best to understand your audience, or also find a project that is going to be your MVP, that you're going to use to generate revenues, and hopefully from that scale to other ones. One thing we've done at La Connexional is that I'm, as a creative, as an artist, as someone that just enjoys different hobbies, we've done so many different things that today I look back and I'm like, we didn't really have to do this project. We didn't really have to do this. This project was time consuming if we had put time into this and that. But again, you don't never want to look at the past and be like, I regret that. It's like all those experiences were learning experience to understand that how do we focus and how do we keep scaling? How do we keep going up? So focus is important. Being able to understand your niche, understand the value proposition that you bring. Your story. I'm still figuring that out. I'm not the most. It may look like I'm comfortable now, but when it comes to English, I French and is my first language, and so I've always been self-conscious about like communicating the story. Even writing emails and all those things usually takes me more time to write an email and all these things. I have to think, but it's like you have to force yourself to tell your story over and over again until it becomes second nature. I think with those are the three things that I've learned over the years. And the last one that is probably one of the biggest one is collaboration and co-creation. Find people that are also building that you can work with and that you can uplift each other, because you think about not only your small business, but also a BIPOC-owned, Black-owned small business. So that means that most of the people that may join our team with the vision and mission that we have are people that are usually not set up. So that means that you need resources in terms of time, but also skill. So if sometimes within your own team you don't have those resources, what are the other people out there that are building that could help you, or you can help each other to actually like collab to create something bigger? Or just because you bring your resources together, it's not about like, we don't have money to invest. Is you bring in time and skills, and that equates to money, or even more than money sometimes. So those are probably, I think, the four things. And I think as a small business owner, having navigated different spaces, social enterprise, trying to also do something that is mostly just like money based, like I think those four elements are really important for everyone, because that I think allows you to build a community of network with other businesses, but also like it keeps you focused. It keeps you hopefully growth. And I'm sure like there are other lessons that I've learned that I can't think of right now. But yeah, patience is one.
Patience is is the biggest one.
No, I haven't. I'm not a patient person. I've had to learn the hard way to be. But patience is so huge because I look at.
Make sure you're talking into the mic.
Yeah.
You can turn it.
Oh, okay. Because I look at the last, 4 or 5 years, and I'm like, this year, this 2023, after doing everything I've done, after taking all the decisions that I've taken, I look at this and I'm like, yo, it feels like things are aligning. Like it feels like this is gonna be a year, hopefully, that we're experiencing more growth, whether that's like personally, professionally, but just so many lessons that I can now basically use to actually inform the rest of the decisions that I make moving forward. Yeah.
There's a lot of lessons. And I think the biggest one you touched on is, your origin story. Your story is important. I think storytelling is, I think, the most important thing when it comes to selling. Yeah. Or I think in any business you're selling. Yeah. You're selling in every business that you're in, whether you're a non-profit, whether you're for-profit, whether you're, products, whether it's services, whether it's, an experience. You're always selling an experience. And in order to sell, two things need to happen. You need to build a relationship. Yeah. You need to create a narrative. Those are the two most important things. When you can do those things at a high rate, when you can build relationships, because every sale, service, like the summit you guys did, right? The events, right? Yeah. You gotta sell that. Yeah. You gotta make people show up. Yeah. Right? If there's ticket sales involved, you gotta make people buy tickets. Sales, right? And the second thing is the narrative. Yeah. Right? What's the narrative? What's the story behind this? Why is this important? Yeah. Why should these people come here? What's the interest behind it? And pandemic kind of showed me the importance of that storytelling aspect. Is that's the part that's gonna help you drive more engagement, because you think about everything we consume, it's narratives, man. Yeah. Everything is a narrative. Everything is a narrative. Think about, it doesn't matter if you're watching a television show, like your favorite sitcom. Doesn't matter if you're binging something on Netflix. Yeah. Right? It doesn't matter if you're watching TMZ. Right? Yeah. Everything is dominated by a narrative. Yeah. Right? What is the narrative behind it? The narrative is what keeps you engaged with it, because you want to know what's happening next. You see here how it started, right? This is the inception of Black Connexional. Yeah. Right? This is how the black hole market started. This is how Ivan started dancing on TikTok, whatever it is, you know what I'm saying? And then, there's a story behind it, and people want to keep up with that. The only way to keep up with that, it's not about the content, it's about what's the story, what's he going for? What's he after? What's the point of all this? Yeah. Right? I think that, establishing that story, like you mentioned, for a business or whatever it is you're doing, it's crucial. Yeah. It's really, really crucial. And then sales, and then the last thing that you said was patience, man. I think 2021 was the year that really tested my patience. Because 2020 was a year, I got a lot of things off the ground. I had a lot of different things going, and you usually think like, okay, it's not about the results. It's more so about getting started and keeping moving, You don't like to feel complacent. You don't want to feel like something stopped over here. Yeah. And that shit used to drive me insane. I'm like, yo, I want to just move on with this project. I want to keep going with this here. I feel like we should work on this, But sometimes it's just not the time yet, right? Sometimes, there's some lessons that need to be learned. There's some prerequisites that need to be had before you make it to this level here, So I had a really difficult time, like, learning that part. It's like, yo, it's not time yet. Right? We're not there yet. We're still over here in level 1, putting these things together, right? It's all a game at the end of the day. It's all a game, but it's definitely been an interesting year. And I think what's interesting is that, like you said, pivot. Yeah. Everybody's had to pivot.
Yeah, we had to.
The last 2 years.
it's like what you said about like it's not the time is insane because like when I think about a lot of projects that we did, a lot of those projects that we did in the past, a lot of them it wasn't the time. But those projects, I look at it and I'm like, I can see the time coming for this, and I know the time is gonna come for this, but it wasn't necessarily right to do it then, or it wasn't the right way to do it, or so many different things. And again, it's insane how I look at today and some of the things that we did. I'm like, even the app idea, when we started the app idea, it definitely wasn't the time. But today, with now the resources and the skills that I've now built and the connections, it could be the right time. And if it's not, again, so many lessons have been learned from that. And it's patience is like I'm very similar. Like again, I'm like, why is this taking so long? Why is this not done? But I had to just learn the hard way to just be like, it is what it is. It is what it is.
It is what it is.
Yeah.
It is what it is, man. So you came here from Cameroon.
Yep.
In what, 2012?
Yeah, 2012. Fresh off the boat back then. Still fresh off the boat today. Proud of it.
10 years now. So you've been in Canada for 10 years.
8 years. No, 9 years, I guess.
10.
10 to when so I came August 2012. So
yeah,
it's been almost 10 years.
It will be 10 years.
Yeah, it'll be 10 years. So, damn. That's crazy.
Decade, man.
I was thinking 8 years. I've been saying 8 years for the last year.
2020 was long, man.
Yeah.
2020 was really long.
Yeah, so like, it's been almost 10 years now. And yeah, moved over here. English, no English. Wasn't great. Went to, had to do, because when I moved over here, I had my high school diploma. Had to do English classes to be allowed to go to the Francophone campus, even though I was going to be taking French classes in French. I was going for a bilingual degree, so they needed me to have English. So took a year of English at Center High campus, started at university right after that year, 17. And from there, Campus Saint-Jean was like, I think about it and it's like, it's because... I was essentially, I didn't know a lot of people here. Most people, when they finish high school here, they want to go to U of A or to a bigger school because they've already had a high school experience. Campus Saint-Jean was different for me in terms of it really helped me create community in a sense because like it helped me actually create bonds with people that really elevated me to the next level. An example, actually, one guy that I hadn't seen for like 4 or 5 years. I reconnected with him like 2 days ago. This the dude that got me at campus, like I had to teach him French and he had to teach me how to work out. And literally that's how I kind of picked up a habit to like, go to the gym and all these things. And there's just so many people along the way meeting at campus. Literally, campus is part of La Connexional Genesis story. So it was sort of really full circle for me because I was able to find a community. Because I could communicate in French, it wasn't like, I didn't feel self-conscious so much about it. So it was a good place to start, really good. So did a bilingual degree in environmental sciences and conservation with a certificate in sustainability. And today, not really using that, but I'm using that in a lot of things that I do. It's
is anybody really doing whatever they studied in school? Anybody?
I actually don't know. I know a few people, but
I'm not.
Yeah.
It's interesting.
Yeah.
That, I think we're so tied to the idea that we must get a job in our field after school.
Yeah.
And I understand that was the intention of going to school.
Yeah.
But when you need money and you gotta work. Yeah. Sometimes what's in your field is you gotta do what you gotta do, right? Yeah. So I think now we're in a different time. But it's interesting that, you've been here for almost a decade now. We're gonna be a decade this year. Have you been back to Cameroon?
Yeah, I've been back once actually. And that was about like 3 years ago. Definitely like I wouldn't necessarily call it like life-changing, but like it put a lot of things in perspective again. Like I grew up there. I know the amount of like, I would call access to resources and access to things that I wouldn't have the here that I have, that I wouldn't have the day that I have here. So, since like it really put a lot of things in perspective again, because like I think sometimes
You forget.
you forget like, how, like you forget where, not just forget where you come from, but it's like you don't take time to be grateful for the things that are working out. And it put a lot of things in perspective. When I actually went back to Cameroon, I actually worked with a not-for-profit for 2-3 months, where I was actually doing what I learned in school. It was so dope because, we were working with these, we're mostly working in a village of pygmies, and we were helping them like with the cultures and stuff, like, yo, this is how you can actually basically take care of this better so that you can make more money after. And so it was like very, like I was able to get back to that because one of the big reason why environmental sciences was my choice, and it's still something that I really value, that I took as a degree, is I really love being in nature. Like I really love that aspect of like protecting nature and being in nature and enjoying that. And so that was having that in Cameroon with the tropical forest, the tropical climate, eating fruits literally from the forest. It's like, yeah, I don't
hit the table because the mic picks it up.
Yeah, I don't get that vibe, a lot of places. And so, yeah, like, I think I definitely agree that today is such a different time. And, initially, with like pressure from like parents and whatnot, you really do want to make sure you go to school for the degree that you did. I learned the hard way really fast that one, a lot of the skills that I developed while going to university were actually directing me more to working with people like with in person, like intangibles. Yeah. And so once I knew that, and I knew that I was passionate about those kind of things, actually the first job that I got at the university was like an event planning job. That was just like with a not-for-profit, and that actually also allowed me again to create more connections in my community, and I was able to get the next one and get the next one. And so it's kind of like, yeah, like too bad not even too bad, it's like it is what it is. I think going to school is great, and I think like when you spend that much money for a degree, you want to make sure you use it, but sometimes life just takes you somewhere else. So yeah. And speaking on that, like literally like La Connexional was born out of university. It was born out of the experiences that I had at university, and now it's literally like a passion project that we are hoping to not only turn it as a place where we can hire people, create jobs, but that we can also impact the community with, right? So it's no regrets. Yeah.
That's good. I mean, as long as you have no regrets, that's the only thing in life, man. You don't want to live life with any regrets. I think I'd rather try something and be embarrassed and, fall flat on your face and fail than to say, well, I wish I did that thing. I wish I tried that thing out. But that's good, man. That's good that you took more than just trying to get a job out of your education, because I think sometimes we block our blessings by thinking that we went here for only this thing.
Yeah.
And we didn't get this thing. Most people, I don't know that. I don't know what the number is of how many people actually work in their field after university.
Yeah.
But I'm pretty sure that really can mess with people's mental, because you had this plan, right?
4-year plan.
A 4-year plan, right?
A lot of money involved.
A lot of money involved, and it didn't pan out that way.
Yeah.
I think that the more important thing is like what you've done is like you've taken the intangibles from university experience and you created something out of what you learned from university that had nothing to do with your degree.
Yeah.
It had nothing to do with what you were studying, but it had everything to do with you being in that environment. And that's one thing about college and university campuses, is that it's an innovative environment. It's a forward-thinking environment. It's a place where thoughts are continuously challenged, ideologies are challenged, new ideas are always popping up, and it's a place where things grow. Where ideas can turn to reality. I think ideas can turn to reality anywhere.
Yeah.
But being in the school system, at least the college university system, maybe doesn't equip you for life, but it does equip you to be around the network of people that are going to come together and create some dope shit. And that's, I think, it's about the silver lining. I think there's such a negative there's such a negative connotation with school right now, especially with the pandemic
Yeah.
and everything that happened, and like how schools keep going back online, and some schools are on strike, and there's just a whole bunch of shit where schools are like the university business model is just getting a bad name because at the end of the day it's a business.
Yeah.
Right? But I think as a student, if you can go in there and you build relationships, you build networks, right? You come out of it your 4 years or 2 years or 3 years, whatever, or 8 years, whatever it is you do, with new ideas and a new perspective, then you should be fine, right? But the problem is if you go in there and you just do all the same shit you were doing before you go, and you come out you doing all the same shit after, then people start to talk and resent school. You know, I don't think you need school to be successful. Yeah. You don't. We've seen right now throughout the pandemic, you don't need it.
You don't need it.
We've seen throughout history, you don't need it. Right? But if you don't know what you want to do exactly, why not go to an environment with new people who come from different backgrounds? Yeah. Right? Who's studying different things, and learn more about yourself. Forget about learning about, you know, business management or environmental science or sociology. Forget about that. Are you learning about yourself when you're out there, when you're doing these classes, right? You got to be at an 8 a.m. Lecture, right? Oh. You know, what's your morning routine? How are you going to get to that lecture, you know? Yeah. A lot of the habits I have now are habits I established when I was in university. You know, a lot of them, most of them, you know, a lot of the things that help me the most in my work or the most in my workflow or my morning routine, all that stuff I started when I was in university. Yeah. You know, I've been out of university for 3-4 years now. But that's the stuff that really helped me design, you know, my life the way I want it to be. You know what I mean? And I think that when you start to think about the less obvious stuff, it's not about getting the job, but it's about what habits you build there. Yeah. Right? What do you take out of it? What are the intangibles? Who do you meet? Yeah. Right? Who are the people that you come across? And do you can stay connected with them? You know, we had Malcolm on the podcast a few weeks ago, before the new year, and he was saying that me going to school allowed me to introduce me to people that were creating wealth in ways he never knew imaginable. Right? If you're never exposed to those people through education, you might stumble upon that later on, like when you're 30. You know what I mean? So it's really, really important to look at every situation that you're in, or you put yourself in, or that you've come out of. What do you get out of that? You know, it doesn't have to be something tangible like a degree. Yeah. It doesn't have to be something tangible like money. It could be something intangible like experiences. Relationships is the biggest one, I think. Is, you know, we talk about the key to success is not how hard you work. Like I've come to realize that hard work is not enough. Oh, it's not enough, man. Like hard work on its own is not enough to make it in any field. It's a combination of hard work, luck, resilience, right? Persistence, and relationships, right? Yeah. Who do you know? You know, I'm the type of guy that if I'm in a room and I think there's somebody in here that's qualified to be in this room, I'm going to speak their name and say, I might know somebody that can get this job done. I might know somebody that can do that. I might know somebody that can, you know, always, because it strengthens, it not only gives somebody else an opportunity, it strengthens your presence. Because now you're putting somebody else in a position where you don't have to be there anymore. You're in the room. Yeah. You speak that person's name. You put them in that room, and now you're always in that room. Yeah. Yeah. You know, you always have access to that room. You know what I'm saying? So it's always beneficial to bring people up with you, because you never know how it might play out for you. Yeah. Right? It maybe sounds selfish, maybe it sounds self-centered.
No, I think it's the mentality of like everyone can win. Everyone can win. Like if I know people that can do this job, and most of the time I don't think most people, when they do that, it's not that they're thinking that they're going to get anything back. If you're automatically thinking I'm putting this person on the room and they will give me back,
no, that's not how it works.
just do it, and then most of the time those people are eventually going to. I can count the amount of times where people have just spoke my name in a room that I would have never gotten access to if people hadn't said, yo, Yvon, it's whatever dance or whatever, he can do this, or Yvon did this. Like, Yvon is the man for this. I'm not even there. It's like, but most of those people are just people that I will also just place whenever I was like, there's an opportunity for you to be part of this or to contribute to this. So, like what you said about the intangibles is, I could not replace my university experience for anything else. Like, literally, the friends that I have right now that are able to sometimes understand me, not only on a deeper level, but that I'm connected with, that have just like helped me in so many different ways. I literally cannot put a price on that. And again, even literally like Connexional Genesis, 4 out of 5 of those people were in university. That's where we met. And that's how like this thing kind of like came about, and like it is what it is today. And you think about like all the relationships that you build, it's the relationships. Like this, I think about all the things that I've done and where I am today in general and where I want to be. Many of the, even like some people that I've worked with that I may have heard before, now they're just like all the way up here. And every time something happens, they're like, yo, homie, pull up. So like, it's just a matter of like being able to space where you're like, I'm comfortable. If you trust someone enough, I'm comfortable giving them that opportunity. And I can vouch for them. Because you also have to be, I think when you're in a room and you do that, you as well have to be conscious that if that person does something that doesn't reflect you, it may also reflect on you. So most people, when you drop a name like that in a room, is because you're like, yo, I believe this person is the right person for the job. And you do that just out of like respect for the work that we've seen them do. So I wouldn't call that selfish. I'm just like, it's putting other people on.
Yeah, it's putting other people on, right? And, when you can put people on, it creates a reputation for yourself too, right? And I think that that's the most important thing that you got to guard with your life is your reputation. It's like, what do people say about you when you're not there? What do people talk about? Whether it's in the context of business, like, are you a person that gets shit done? Are you a person that gets the job done? Are you reliable, right? Are you honest? Are you straightforward? Are you relentless? What is your reputation? Even when it comes to, just friendships. Are people going to be like, yo, that guy talks way too much. I don't want to tell him nothing. If that guy doesn't know how to keep his mouth closed, or that guy, no, we can't bring hoes around him. He's always going to try to, he becomes a funny guy. What's your reputation? That's really important because, and I don't think people understand how important that is, because your reputation speaks your name when you're not there. You know what I'm saying? And you want an opportunity, you put your resume somewhere and they're like, okay, hey, like, I have this resume from this person. What do you know about them? It's not going to be like, oh, yeah, well, I know he worked here and he worked there and he worked there. It's going to be like, well, no, when he was here, this is how he was. Oh, when he was working on me with this project, he was like this. Oh, I was on an episode of it with him, blah, 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 blah. Like, we don't talk about how important reputation is. The reputation's everything. Like, even if you have a falling out with someone, can you sit there and say that the falling out was, what was it over? You know what I mean? Like, if someone's going to sit there and badmouth you and ruin your reputation, that's fucked up. You know what I'm saying? Like that's says more about that other person than it does about you, right? Your reputation is everything, and I think you have to guard it with your life, because if character is something that, we don't really talk about, I think we're not really accountable with how we deal with people all the time. How we deal with certain situations. Some people are opportunists and are willing to throw people under the bus to get their way. So all that stuff is very reflective of you and shapes your character and your reputation depending on who's paying attention. But I think that we don't talk about the importance of reputation, the importance of your character, you know, and the character goes hand in hand with what we were saying before about stories and narratives, right? Because in the narrative, you're a character, you know. What character are you in this narrative? What character are you playing, right? In this person's narrative, you may be a good guy, but in this person's narrative, you may be a bad guy. You know, and that's why storytelling and telling your story and controlling that narrative is so important, right? If you're not doing anything to control the narrative, then somebody's controlling you. You know, so I think that we should be more conscious about. I'm really conscious about how I'm perceived by people. You know, I don't want people to think that, you know, we just came on here and turned the mics on and started talking shit. You know, we want the perception of it to be like these guys had an idea. They had a plan. They had a desire and a why behind why they did this. You know, and maybe some people missed it because maybe it was at the beginning of the thing. But we want that. We want to constantly reinforce that narrative. That, you know, we're just here trying to control our own narrative. Right. And I think when people start to think, you can simplify it and just say, just do the work. Right. That is the simple way, you know, but sometimes hard work isn't enough.
It's never enough.
You know?
I think like I've worked hard for the last 8-10 years since I've gotten here. It's never enough. It goes beyond that. It's hard work, building the proper systems, becoming aware of yourself as much as possible. I'm still on that journey. Many people are still on that journey of awareness. Knowing what is good for you, what like fuels you, what like brings you down. When you eat this or when you do that, how do you feel after? You know, again, relationships, like connecting, not necessarily connecting with the right people, but even sometimes working with the right people, collaborating with the right people. And it's so important that like in that journey of awareness or growth or whatever, every time that there's a failure or that you fail or that something happens, you're able to learn from that. Because I think like me, you know, I'm 25 years old. Sometimes like, you know, sometimes it's so easy to compare yourself to like some of these kids are like 20 and making millions and like
TikTok, man. TikTok millionaire.
Yo, bruh, how yo, that actually pisses me off sometimes. But it's like if you actually like compare you just can't, because everyone in life gets dealt like different hands. And you know, like I think this year even like some things with my impressions and all these things, I'm just like, okay, this is my journey. I came here from Cameroon this much ago. I was able to, because I think the biggest thing this year as well, especially at the end of this year, was I haven't really celebrated any wins. Like I haven't really celebrated much because I was like always like boom. And like I stopped this year and I was like, holy shit. Like every time I was, because I wouldn't see people, but every time someone would see me, they just speak so highly of me, and I'm like, hey, am I that person that did all of these things? But it was really interesting taking the time to actually write down all the things that I did. And like this year, even like actually recently, I got awarded in the Francophone community. They were doing like a 20-year recap of the artists that have impacted the province in the Francophone community, and I'm one of those artists.
Damn, congratulations.
And like, it's a 20-year recap thing. It's a 20-year recap. I'm 25, so I would have been 5 when some of these people that I'm going to be. And I was just like, I was still like, and even when they did, I was like, yo, I don't know that this makes sense, because I was still trying to like separate myself from what I've accomplished and whatnot. So like, you know, like again, in that journey of like go and doing all those things, like it's so important to stop and reflect. And now, yo, these are the things that I'm good at. These are the things that I've learned. These are the things that fuel me. How do I now take that and like either build my own brand or build my own thing from scratch? Because I think what I can see from what you've built and what you're still building is that like we are people that are focused on like, not necessarily focused, but we value equity and like building our own systems and our own platforms, because like once you own your platform, you're actually able to have a better control over how that revenue happens. It could take 5, 10, 20 years.
It takes 20, yeah.
But after 20 years and you're able to chill, I mean, all those 20 years would have been worth it because you did build your own platform and you own it, right? So, so like having I'm likely going to be a 9 to 5 guy for still a long time, but the things that I know I'm passionate about, and I've also been lucky enough that my 9 to 5 sort of align with some of the skills that I need to learn to keep going, like let's say La Connexional or any other things that I do as a business. So been lucky in that way, so I can actually, even though sometimes I'm like, feels like I'm wasting my time here, but it's not a waste of time. It's the cards that I've been dealt.
It's a cards dealt, yeah.
Like having to, again, like moving here, basically our parents, when we're living here, having to pay rent so early young. And sometimes I met friends at university, they're living at their parents, and I'm like, that sounds so blessed. And I'm like, I have to pay rent every month for like ever since I've gotten here. It's like when I think about how much money when it's done, I'm like, that would have been a lot of money in investment. But again, that's the cause I've been dealt.
And you have to work with it.
Yeah, you have to work with it. And when I think about those are the cards I've been dealt, I know people in Cameroon that don't even have those cards. Like, it's a matter of like, I recognize that internally. Sometimes I can think about it and it sucks, but I'm grateful for it. You don't have to like, you can just like, you can reject those feelings of like, this feels like it sucks, but you have to like also be like, yo, like, life is pretty good too. So
life is peachy, man.
Yeah.
Life is peachy, man. You can't complain. I think life right now, like you said, you got to play the cards you're dealt. Yeah. You can't really do anything about what your circumstances are and how they started or whatever, but you can take what you've been given, whether it works in your favor, whether it doesn't, and use that. You got to use what's at your disposal, and that's when you can become resourceful, and that's when people see, okay, well, this guy made this out of this, and this, and it inspires some people because people watch, people pay attention. People are paying attention to what you're doing. And when you're showing them that, yo, this is the hand I was dealt and this is what I was able to create, they're like, damn, bro, like, maybe I can do something like that. Maybe we can do something like that. Okay, maybe I should start on that idea. Maybe I should start that thing. And I think that's what's important, and it's kudos to you. You came here from Africa.
Motherland.
The motherland. You came from the motherland to the coldest place in the freaking world, and you made something. You started something. You started several things.
We cancelled winter. Straight up. The way you just said is that I actually came from the coldest place from Africa to here, and we made an event called Winter's Cancelled, and people pull up and they've said that winter was cancelled for that one night. So it's like, I mean, in terms of accomplishment, that's a good accomplishment. That's a really good one. So
it's inspirational, man. And like, you came here, and not only did you finish school and get a degree and shit, you started your own company. You started 2 projects, right? And probably maybe you'll start 5 more. Who knows? Nobody knows how the cards will be dealt. We could say we planned it out and stuff, but that in itself is an accomplishment. You know what I mean? So, I think we are very hard on ourselves as individuals. I know I am. Yeah. You probably are too. Yeah. But sometimes you just got to sit back, look back, and say, damn.
Yeah. I did this shit.
Doing some shit. Yeah, I did that shit, and celebrate yourself.
Yeah.
Really celebrate yourself.
100%.
So what's next for La Connexional?
So this year, again, in the same sense of this year, a big focus is one, being able to take care of my team and being able to take care of my team. We are moving into a lot of more like business to business collaborations and work. So we are moving into consulting for brands, more big brands. Right now, we actually we have 2 clients, which is amazing because there are 2 clients that we didn't look for. And I'm like, imagine when we start looking for them. So the big things over the years with all the resources and time and money we've invested back in the community is that it's been hard to take care of my team. And I, as the CEO, not only had to take care of my team, but also myself. As a CEO, if I want and if we want La Connexional to not only stay functioning, but actually keep going so we can actually keep generating more impact, we need to figure out ways to generate revenue. So in our team, when I look at the growth of our team, if you look at the pictures that our photographers used to take versus what he's taking now, it's literally night and day. Like, and so we've built so many skills and talent over the years, and the goal now is like, how do we use those skills to generate revenue so that we can actually better reinvest back into the community? Because the whole thing was like Connexional, we're a social enterprise. This is not the company that where we're just focused on making money. We want to make sure that as a social enterprise, and I want to make sure that I build La Connexional in a way where if there's another Ivan that arrives in Edmonton in 2, 3, 5 years, they have all the resources and community and hub that they need to succeed. Because, like, it's been hard. Like, integrating myself here was hard. It's been hard. It's really tough. And when I think about, honestly, I'm just going to say how lucky I get the people that I met along the way. And when I see some of the other people that I arrived with at the same time, I'm like, the only difference sometimes is the people that I met and the resources that I was able to get, or the networks that I was able to access. So La Connexional is, how do we create that, and how do we, in 10, 20 years from now, we have a community, or we have a hub like ours strong enough to generate money for people, to ensure that people come here and they have a place to go right away, to ensure that they feel supported, that they have a community. Like, a lot of people have come to our parties, and it's not just a party. Like, it's a celebration of our cultures. It's like feeling like you're back home. So, when you look sometimes at the pictures in our events, sometimes I look at them, I'm like, how do we get people to smile like this? But it's like, we're not just doing parties. And so, like, we are... Yes, parties is always something we're going to do, because I love to dance. I love to party. I love to do that. When, they playing Afrobeat Joanna, I'm there. But it's also like that way of life, at least from where I grew up, is literally part of the way we stay sane. You just don't go to work, come back home, isolated, it's cold, then you just stay alone. We were not meant to exist alone. Like, we were meant to exist in the community, and that's how I was raised. That's how I see things going. So when I think about community, it's like, what are all the different aspects that La Connexional can impact that actually do make people's well-being better? Parties, capacity development, one-on-one training, financial literacy, like doing this podcast and telling our stories. There are so many different things, and my hope and the end goal is that 20, 30, 40, 50 years, 100 years, like, we have this herb of like different brands that appeal to different people with different needs. And so in the next year or two, in terms of like short-term goal, is definitely like focusing on our team, making sure that our team is better equipped to do what we're doing, so that like in the long term, we are able to better reinvest in the community. It's that same idea of the long game. We've been honestly running ourselves to the ground. We've done like so many different events that honestly we've lost most of the money at the events that we do, and all of those have been great, and we've been able to build that consistency and that I guess brand in a way. But now is we need to be able to, if we're gonna keep doing this, we need to be able to have a certain way to sustain it. And that's a fact. And I don't want to stop doing this. I don't want to stop doing this, so I have to figure out, and we are already figuring out how to do it. So we've already embarked a few brands. With the app that we're building, the goal is to be able to, some of the like African, Black, Caribbean, and Latin businesses that don't have a digital presence, how do we get them on there? How do we make it easy as in ABCD for them to get online? Because if you're not going digital in today's world, it's going to be really hard to survive. Our world, everything is moving into the metaverse. Like people, we sometimes we talk about those things we think is so far, but it's already been happening. And it's like your digital life for most has become more important than your like physical life,
which is crazy.
Which is crazy.
Can't wrap my head
which is crazy. And like And in that same sense, it's like, it's not to tell people that I honestly, when I think about where the metaverse is going, I think even companies like Connexional are going to be even more valuable, because the in-person experiences that we're going to be able to provide you, you're not gonna find them anywhere else on the metaverse. Like, it's gonna be impossible to twerk on a girl. Actually, maybe it's gonna be possible, but even then, that physical experience, I think those kind of experiences are still going to be
the high value.
High value. So like, looking at all those things, it's like, how do we stay informed about where the world is moving? Because if as a community or as people we don't stay informed on where things go, these things, tech, we get lost. Like, tech doesn't wait for anyone, and the way tech is moving mad. Like, this metaverse things is honestly low-key, high-key scary, but at the same time, that's where everything has been moving, and that's where everything is moving. So if we don't find a way to, like, either leverage it, because there's also, again, tech is not, it's it depends on who is using it. Right? When you think about the metaverse, if we build the metaverse in a way, for example, for African and Black and Caribbean, Latinx communities, in a way where we can connect with all of our people all over the world, that could be kind of cool. I can't travel to Cameroon every day, but if we're building a metaverse that once in a while, and I have that time, like, manage, I'm like, okay, I'm not going to spend more than 1 hour here. I can actually connect with friends back home and speak to them and feel them. That's a pretty amazing thing, right? So things are moving there. That technology is not going anywhere soon. But how do we leverage it? Or, like, how do we, if we choose not to use it, what is the other plan, right? We need to have a plan, or I don't know. I'm just blabbing now, but yeah.
No, it's good, man. No, it's real shit. It's important to think about tech. We thought about, 10 years ago, you probably wouldn't buy a mattress online or a rug online. Now you are, right? 10 years ago, 10 years ago, there was cryptocurrency, but we didn't think it'd be this high value, right? We didn't think about how NFTs could decentralize the art market and put the hands back in the creators. He called it. He talked about it. He did. He said this stuff is going to happen. And it's really happening now. It's really becoming a thing where, like, maybe the access is still tough for individual creators because it's expensive.
It is.
But we're starting to see the traditional confines of, business and technology and everything change drastically.
Yeah.
And that's what I think is the most exciting about since the pandemic, where we're going. It's exciting. We're seeing people bet on themselves. We're seeing people try to create their own leverage. We're seeing companies pop out of nowhere. That's exciting. That's exciting. Everybody's figuring out that there's value that they can bring, and like La Connexional, like the Gifted Gab, more companies are going to pop up. More creators are going to pop up. More, movements are going to pop up, whether they're for profit, non-profit. More is happening, and it's like, why wouldn't that be exciting?
Yeah.
Why wouldn't we take advantage of that? Why wouldn't we want to be a part of that change? So any last words? Where can everybody find your work, man?
Currently, La Connexional is on Instagram at LACO. That's a long one. At La Connexional, LACONEXIONAL. La Connexional stands for La Connexion Afro-Latina. And you can find me online at yvontuko.com. Also La Connexional, laconnexional.com. Twitter, Instagram, not super active on Twitter. Instagram, Facebook, we're mostly there. And we are. Check out our website. We're rebuilding, and it's looking cool. It's gonna look really, really cool when it's done. I'm excited.
You web design too, right?
Yeah, I do. So we hopefully get some clients for web design. I really love it. What else? And find me online. I'm gonna start my own dance classes soon. I'm gonna be doing dance classes probably at Dance Code Studio. So that's something that I'm really excited about because I miss teaching dance. I'm actually going to be teaching at the U of A as well as part of the recreation.
That's amazing, nice
thing. I've taught there for last 2-3 years. I put a pause on it last year, but this year I'm getting back to it. So I'm excited to teach it again because that's one thing that I kind of put on the side because of Connexional. So excited to be able to refine myself in that space as an artist. And keep going as an artist, as an entrepreneur, and see how I can use the skills that I built at Connexional to build my own case study. Because like, what are some of the things that I'm thinking about for my own businesses, man? When it works out, I'm just like, I'm gonna create an e-course, find a way to digitalize it and give it to other people that will be interested. Because a lot of artists, dancers especially, it's really hard to figure out how to like generate consistent revenues of income. So that's a big focus this year. How do I take this skill and make it consistent so I can actually build on it? So
It's exciting, man.
Yeah.
Man, I appreciate you, man.
Appreciate you, bro.
It's the gap, baby. 1K combo. Oh, my bad. 1K combos, baby. You guys know what it is. Like, subscribe, hit that smash button. Hit that like button. Smash that like button. It's been a long day, man. And just like that,